welcome back. Apologies for not being able to bring you a traffic update this morning. Now, as a result of the escalating tension between Russian and Ukraine forces following Russia's attack on Ukraine last week, nations worldwide are scrambling to get their citizens out of Ukraine as Ukrainians flee the country as well. In its efforts to repatriate its citizens, the Namibian Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation said the government, through its diplomatic missions in Russia, Germany and Austria, have engaged the respective governments, including Poland, Romania, Slovakia, among others, to ensure the safe passage of the 114 Namibian nationals. Now, joining us telephonically for an update on the repatriation process is Namibia's ambassador to Germany, His Excellency Martin Andjaba. Good morning, Your Excellency, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to your program.
Your Excellency, we understand that the Namibian government has set in motion the repatriation process to assist Namibians living in Ukraine. Please give us an overview of the current situation.
Well, as we all know, the situation in Ukraine is extremely dangerous. It is a war situation. And in any war situation, innocent civilians, especially the most vulnerable, women, children, the elderly, and so on, they suffer the most. So this is what is happening now in Ukraine. Developments on the ground are changing rapidly every day. People now, some of them live in bunkers for shelter, and some have left also their homes to flee to neighboring countries, like the ones you mentioned in your introduction. Now, as the ambassador in Germany, who is also accredited to Poland, upon ascertaining that the war is imminent in Ukraine, we have approached the Polish government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to inform them of our nationals who are in Ukraine and request them to allow them free passage. And the government of Poland responded positively and swiftly. And they also informed us that the COVID restrictions that were in place will be suspended to allow the free movement of people from Ukraine to Poland.
Thank you for that overview, Your Excellency. Now, apart from engaging the Polish counterparts, what else is the Namibian embassy in Germany playing in terms of assisting the Namibians in Ukraine?
We have dispatched 2 officials from our embassy to go to Poland, and in particular to go to the border areas. There are about 8 border crossing points designated by the Polish government. And our officials have been going from one point to the other to identify Namibian students that are coming across. And I must also say that our team was assisted by the Honorary Consul of Namibia in Poland and by the Nabahab mine, and also by a Namibian national who lives in Poland. And this was very, very useful and helpful, because for the Namibian who lived in Poland was also assisting with the translation. And she also provided some accommodation for some of the students. At the same time, we are also coordinating and sharing information with our embassies in Moscow, because Moscow is accredited to Ukraine, in Austria because of the movement from Ukraine to Bulgaria to Romania and so on. So we have this coordination with our 2 embassies, but we also approached the German government to inform them that we are now in the process of repatriating our nationals back home, because they will be going through through Frankfurt. So we approached the German authorities, and they have the name list of our nationals already at the airport in Frankfurt.
Very well, Your Excellency. Now, in your introductory overview, you mentioned that Poland will suspend some of its COVID-19 regulations to facilitate the smooth movement. Which regulations are those?
Yeah, the normal COVID restrictions that are imposed when people enter countries. So those are the ones that have been suspended for the time being so that people can move smoothly.
Will that not put the Namibians at risk of contracting COVID-19, sir?
Well, no, I don't think so, because this is an emergency situation. And of course, what we are doing is that we have started also to have them tested before they are transported to Namibia. Now we have started with that process of testing them in Poland. So it's an emergency situation which requires the Polish authorities to also implement measures that will facilitate the smooth movement of people. Of course, the challenge was more on the Ukrainian side, where there were a lot of people, a lot of crowds and queues. So people have been in lines for even more days, 2-3 days in queues, and they have no food, they have no water. Some walk these long distances. So it has been a very difficult situation, and some of the people have been traumatized. They have seen the war for the first time, and some also needed some medical attention. So we have all these situations on our hands, but we are doing our level best because the team that we have on the ground is very efficient, and we have provided them with the resources necessary to assist the nationals.
Now, Your Excellency, how many Namibians have you been able to assist through your embassy thus far? And are you also rendering psychosocial support, being cognizant of the trauma that they are enduring?
So far, we have attended to 59 students who are currently under our care in Poland. In terms of psychosocial support, we don't have the expertise in that. But the ministry, the government back home, I'm informed, will put measures in place to assist them on that score.
Now, Your Excellency, rendering assistance under those circumstances certainly is no walk in the park. Which are the key challenges that you have been experiencing thus far?
I mentioned the crowds at the crossing points. I mentioned people needing medical assistance. I mentioned the translation needed, because without understanding what the border soldiers say, it's very difficult. So we have all these challenges, including now moving from one point to the other. These are 8 of them. And one of the critical situation also is the weather conditions. At night, it gets extremely cold, about -6 degrees Celsius. So it can tell you what condition there is, because people don't even have shelter, don't have blankets, and so on. And then, of course, we arrange for transportation, driving back and forth between the borders and the capital, Warsaw, and also arranging accommodation and meals. So these are some of the issues that we have been dealing with.
Have you been able, you've spoken about the Namibian in Poland assisting with the translation and also accommodation. Have you been able to mobilize other resources to assist these students in these dire straits?
Well, at the moment, this is an emergency situation that we are dealing with, and the urgent needs are the ones that I just mentioned: transportation, accommodation, meals, and arrangement for doctors to take care of those that need medical attention.
For those who require or required medical attention, could you talk to us about what the reason for that was? Did they sustain any serious injuries?
No serious bodily injuries, but like I mentioned, the trauma situation, people are in shock. They haven't seen any war in their lifetime. So these are some of the issues that they are facing.
Now, Your Excellency,
They are hungry.
Yes, Your Excellency?
Yes, I'm there.
Now, our news team engaged parents of these students, and some are of the view that they will not be able to ever return to Ukraine to resume their studies. Is that also your observation at the moment?
Well, we leave that, I think, for later. As I said, we are dealing with an emergency situation now of ensuring that the Namibians are evacuated from that dangerous situation and also ensuring that they are repatriated to Namibia. Now, the long-term issue now of them returning to Ukraine for further studies or not, I think that is a matter to be dealt with at another level and later.
When do we expect the students to be back home, Your Excellency?
So far, we have booked tickets for the first group to leave Warsaw tomorrow, that is Friday, via Frankfurt. And they will arrive in Namibia on Saturday. The second group would also leave on Saturday, same route, arriving in Namibia on Sunday. So we have organized tickets for them. We have negotiated with the airlines. The airlines are full, but we have negotiated with them to give us kind of priority consideration and also to give us discounted prices. And we have succeeded in doing so.
And who's paying for these tickets, Your Excellency?
We are paying, the government is paying. It is the government's responsibility to make sure that the Namibians are taken care of, they are evacuated, they are repatriated, and that they are given all these air tickets for them to reach Namibia. So it is the responsibility of the government. We use money that we have here at the embassy, with the support from headquarters, of course, to buy those tickets for the Namibians. And I must also indicate that these are not all students. Some of them are just Namibians who were living in Ukraine. So we are assisting all of them, students and non-students, whom we have under our care.
Just very briefly, in terms of the breakdown, do we know how many of the 114 nationals are non-students?
Well, I don't have all the figures, but I recall that the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation made a statement in the National Assembly giving a breakdown of the numbers as to how many Namibians lived in Ukraine, how many of those were students, and how many of those were not students. So the colleagues in Moscow will perhaps be in a better position to also shed more light on this because they are the ones who are accredited to Ukraine, and they have the records of those who lived there.
Before we let you go, Your Excellency, any final remarks this morning, please?
Well, my final remarks are to just ensure the nation and the families, the parents of these people who are under our care, that the embassy will do its utmost to ensure that we repatriate them to Namibia under safe conditions, but we will also do all efforts or make all efforts to ensure that those that are trapped still in Ukraine find way to their border, to the border with Poland. Our staff members of the embassy will remain in Poland until all Namibians that come to the borders go through and assisted.
Your Excellency, wir bedanken uns sehr herzlich bei Ihnen, Tapandula Unene.
Ja, danke schön.
Bitte schön. That was Namibia's ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany, Martin Andjaba, talking to us about what the Namibian embassy in that country is doing to assist with the repatriation of Namibian students and non-students from Ukraine. We will be right back after a brief break.